right, guys, welcome back to the Short Story Long podcast. I'm your host, Sam Derrickson, joined by my colleague, Andrew Dial.
What's up, guys?
All right, so we don't really have much to talk about tonight, but I think we're going to do one about how to get a deal on Facebook Marketplace. This would regards to Facebook or Craigslist, which isn't really a thing anymore, but it kind of is, and we'll get into that. So we'll start off with what's new with you, Dozer.
Well, what's new with me is Sam has told me about the Straightforward Farming podcast months ago. Dude, you gotta listen to this. Like, whatever, dude. I'm maybe listen to one. Didn't really get into it. Well, I kind of circled back to it and started listening to it, and I just love it. And
I think my mistake there, which shout out to Tony Reed and Nick McCormick who do that podcast. They do an excellent job. So maybe our 11 listeners will reach out and add to their thousands of listeners. But I think the episode I introduced you to was the one about when Tony had Lyme disease.
Okay.
And it was a context thing. I think we were talking about Lyme disease, and I wanted to share Tony's experience with Lyme disease, but it didn't really give a good feel for what their podcast is all about. And then circle back to a couple weeks ago, there was an episode that dropped, and you would text me or call me or whatever, like, dude, this episode's great. And I hadn't listened yet. And I think you've been binging ever since because
it's got the perfect mixture of rants and nostalgia and
horsepower.
Yeah, horsepower and nostalgia. And then they're talking about putting John Deere motors and Chevy pickups. And I just love that part of hot rodding. Let's put a motor in something where it doesn't belong.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I just love it. And, I'm a city boy, grew up in town, but I've always loved things with motors. Tractors have always been cool to me, but in the last 3 or 4 years, just like the 70s vintage tractors is just, I don't know why, I'm just drawn to them. They've got an excellent style. They had the horsepower wars going on, and there still wasn't really computers and stuff. And those guys talk, they're probably 10 years older than us.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yep. About.
They talk about, farming with these tractors and such. So I really enjoy hearing about it. Nick talks about you gotta, when it's wet out, you gotta really get some momentum, throw some mud, and how it was cool when you're a kid. And I just, talk about people buying brand new tractors to turn into pulling tractors.
Or special ordering brand new tractors without 3 points or PTOs or hydraulics or anything.
Yes.
And how the dealerships must have looked at the people crazy, like, what the hell are you going to do with this tractor?
Yes.
Well, you couldn't just go buy a used tractor to tractor pull, so you just had to go buy a brand new one, and that's what these guys were doing. So,
yeah, and I just love it. And they're talking about combining in one of the episodes, and they're saying, the old combines didn't even have enough power to unload on the go. Like, you could either run the unloading auger or harvest with it, but you couldn't do both. And my friend Ryan Brandt, shout out again. He gets brought up on this all the time. They decided that they were going to start farming. And so they rented 40 acres next to his dad's house. And they've got some pretty nice equipment. But they bought a John Deere 4400 combine, which is like a late 1970s, perfect condition, kept inside. It's got the John Deere decals that don't have the black stripes in them. Like, it's the old John Deere graphics and stuff. I mean, it just checks all the boxes for me.
Which you've had a slight background because you did food plots for a lot of years for deer hunting.
Well, and food plots isn't the thing. I mean, I farmed for my uncle, which shout out, he's a listener also if he ever gets this far, my Uncle Roger. But my obsession with vintage garden tractors is really where I get into the farming scene.
The old John Deere 400s.
Yes, and in my opinion, they do not make a better looking garden tractor than a John Deere 400.
They don't make them like they used to, bud.
No, they look like a little 60-30, which, Nick will say, and this is the most useless tractor in the world. But I bleed green, but I won't lie. I've been Facebook marketplacing 1066s as well. So,
there you go.
after listening to Nick. But so my buddy Ryan, they've got this John Deere 4400, it's 95 horsepower, 13-foot bean head. Auger stays out the whole time. It's not hydraulic. You have to manually put the auger out.
Yep.
And he called me today. I said, he was talking about something else. I said, hey, I've seen you've been combining on Snapchat. Oh, yeah, dude. I love it. He's like, it's the best. He's like, we're getting more acres next year. Like, this is amazing. I was like, yeah, I seen the Snapchat. I would love to experience that. He's like, we're doing it right now. Come out.
Here.
So it was about 3:30 in the afternoon today, and I looked, and I'd pretty much caught up on all my work. Of course, there's always stuff to do at work, but so I told the girls I'm going farming. So
asked the boss permission. He said yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Basically, I'm going farming. You're doing what? I said, I'm going to talk to one of my customers.
Yeah. We're going to be selling some pins or something. I don't know.
So anyway, went out there and went for a couple rounds, and it was amazing. Like, it was like the perfect amount of nostalgia.
And I got Snapchats from you while you were out there, just the auger putting beans into the hopper, and then you were augering out into the grain cart.
Well, no grain cart. There's just a gravity wagon,
Yeah, gravity wagon. Sorry.
So grain cart, I assume, has like an auger that you unload into semis. This is just a wagon like they were used in the 70s.
Yeah. Last time I saw one of those in use was at the Lilyville church parish picnic, and they put basketball hoops in there, and you had to throw your junk aluminum cans in it. They didn't really use it for farming anymore.
Farming, okay?
Like the Pilgrims.
Yes, exactly. We've got a $50 wagon and a $2,500 combine, and we're pulling it with an $80,000 truck.
Hey, whatever it takes.
So it was an awesome experience. What really stands out to me is how smooth it was.
Okay.
So you've got a mile of belt and chain. Mm-hmm. Who knows how many bearings? I mean, in a John Deere combine in that vintage, let's say 60, 70 bearings.
Okay.
And you got a motor. It's right next to the cab. And, dude, it was smooth as a sewing machine.
So I would like to get Tony Reed's feedback if the 4400 is better or worse than the Gleaners that he always is. So
I think of that vintage. I think the Gleaners me and Ryan talked about that today.
Okay.
I think the Gleaners were the thing to have.
Okay.
With a 13-foot bean head.
Sure. Yeah.
And they were big around here, as Tony says. But me and Ryan kind of talked about that a little bit. They are looking at a red combine. Even though. They have all John Deere equipment, and I used to be a John Deere guy too, but I don't know, for some reason that's
resale red, bud.
Exactly.
Resale
the
red.
way Nick talks about it, it's almost poetic. So, but Ryan said something about the axial flow. I don't know. And then
it's over my head.
And then there's 2 generations of combine newer than the 4400. That's supposed to be a really good machine for the money and age.
Okay.
So, they're going up.
You're going to buy the 4400 and you're going to do 20 acres next year.
I definitely would if I could.
Well, so you live in a cornfield, essentially.
Right.
What would it take to rent a few acres off of your neighbor? Knock on the door. Hey, man,
my neighbor just retired.
Here's the deal.
My neighbor just retired from farming, but he's got one of the other neighbors doing his land. But Ryan's like, we're getting it. Like, whatever it takes. Like, we need more land to farm. And,
right.
Dude, it's just, and I told him what it is we don't have to worry about feeding our family with this money. So
it's a game almost.
If all the seed blows out of the back of this machine, we're still going to make our house payment.
It's hobby farming.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a certain level of low stress there.
Sure. Yeah.
So it was super cool. And I just love 70s vintage equipment, and it definitely 100% was not designed for the type of beans we have now. I guess that machine was made to eat like 12 to 16 inch tall beans, and these were like waist tall beans.
Okay.
And Ryan was saying back in the day, if you got 30 bushel an acre beans, it was
bumper crop.
Yeah, you bragged about it. And they were getting 40 bushel. So this machine has like all the analog gauges,
no
your
digital
rotor speed
readouts
and stuff, and And, you don't, I think they call it slugging a combine. So
Where you got too much coming in.
Yeah, you plug it up.
Okay.
And I guess that's a real chore to get it done. And it almost happened a few times today, but there is no texting and combining with this machine. Like, you are constantly.
So it didn't have auto steer.
No.
You weren't TikToking while you were combining like all the guys that we see on TikTok.
So we were running this 4400 through waist tall beans at 1 mile an hour, and every 30 yards you had to hit the clutch to let it keep up. So it was just amazingly smooth. Did some research, and the cabs were rubber lined and had a radio. The air conditioner works in this thing.
What?
Yes. So it was super cool. I appreciated him inviting me out.
I would like to know what that combine costs new, because
I could probably tell you.
Because on TikTok, guys talk about these farmers buying these pieces of equipment, and they're $500,000, $750,000, and it seems like the rate of inflation. If you do an inflation calculator, like what did a loaf of bread cost in 1977? Versus what it costs today, it was X number percent increase. But like a brand new pickup truck in 1977 was $3,500. Now it's $100,000 for a brand new pickup truck. So what do these combines and tractors and stuff cost? Because like you said about how Nick talked about these guys going out and buying brand new tractors to do tractor pulling with, it was just your average Joe, like kids our age would just go to the dealership and order a brand new tractor to just go tear the shit out of on a tractor pull because they could afford it. And I think the rate of inflation is different for vehicles than it is for, bread, milk, eggs, whatever. And a lot of that I think has to do with the technology. I mean, obviously there's no satellites, there's no computers, any of that mess on a 1977 John Deere 4400, but it is on all this new stuff. And, I think Dave Ramsey talks about people who talk about, how the boomers, saying that millennials can't afford houses because of avocado toast and this BS and that BS. And as while they look on their $1.4 million house that they bought for $88 back in 1984, well, the difference is the standard of living now. Everyone needs, 9-foot vaulted ceilings, and we need granite countertops, and we need all this fancy stuff as a, standard of living. Well, no one buys a 1977 vintage house because they've got 3 bedrooms and 1,000 square feet and a kitchen that you can't even turn around and only one person can work in. And no one in our generation wants any of that stuff. So I think the same things happen with farm equipment.
So according to Google on yesterdaytractors.com, the 4400 in 1975 was $24,500 brand new.
So
that's probably a lot back then.
That was a lot back then.
Because you figure a new truck was probably about $6,000 or $8,000
or less. Yeah, for sure. In 70, what did you say? 75?
75.
Yeah,
that's when they had. I think they come out with the diesel.
That
year. They were gas before that.
Right. So I mean, it could be probably an arguable rate of change between a $5,000 pickup truck to a $100,000 pickup truck, a $25,000 combine to a $750,000 combine. So I'd probably be pretty comparable.
Yeah, but it was a super cool experience, and as long as I guess you didn't have to make a living at it, farming would be pretty fun.
Which I mean, like Nick and Tony talk about how they couldn't imagine farming with an open station tractor, but their grandparents farmed with horses and shit. Like, that would have been right uptown for them. Like, hell yeah, give me that tractor. I'll pick corn at 1 mile an hour.
Yeah.
What I mean?
And I got super, nerd into it and started researching this combine, and they were saying before that was the John Deere 95, the John Deere 95, and it was open cab. And you were a pussy if you had a cab on your combine back then. And they were saying John Deere didn't even plan on putting a cab on these, and you could buy them without a cab And they started selling more of them with a cab than without a cab. And they're like, oh, I guess we should start putting cabs on these combines. But
all these pussy kids buying cabs on their combine.
But the article I read, like, it was like shameful if you had a cab on your tractor. Like, you were soft as baby shit.
Just don't make them like they used to, guys.
No. So that's probably about the time that, the country started going to pot, was when the men started riding in cabs.
Yep. Then we won't go down that path. Well, I didn't do anything nearly as cool as that. As far as my what's new, I went to Mattoon, had brunch with my old man, as metro as that sounds to say.
Yeah, I'm out here combining with vintage equipment, getting dust in my hair. You're going to lunch.
So it was a early lunch, late breakfast, whatever, and he invited me to the Honeybee in Mattoon. Never ate there before. It used to be Pagliacci's, and it was amazing. I will be back several times. They have a huge menu, anything you could want. You take your whole family there. No one's going to leave disappointed. I mean, all the food looks absolutely delicious. I had steak and eggs. Best steak and egg breakfast ever had. Hands down, highly recommend. He got me some podcast chairs. They are bank teller chairs.
They're nice.
They're way more comfortable than the card table folding chairs that we were sitting on. But I've been informed that they're just a regular chair. But I disagree because they are pneumatically telescoping, way higher and way lower than a normal office chair. They don't have arms, and the backs are adjustable. They are for bank tellers, to conduct business at a bank. And we were kind of joking around,
they're ergonomically pleasing.
They are. So, imagine, there's an industry for everything. You wouldn't stop and think that there's a company out here making an honest living, making chairs for people to sit in while they exchange money at a bank. But there is. So
I've always said there's an ass for every seat, and that's no pun intended.
Except there is definitely an intended pun in there.
It's real punny.
Aside from that, did some work on the Volkswagen. Had some turn signal issues going on and messed with that a little bit. Ordered some more parts. So tech tip of the day: if you are in the market for anything parts related, just go to the internet. Don't even screw around with the parts store. I might get flamed for saying this, but there's a huge markup in everything car part related. You're paying for a lot of convenience to go to AutoZone, O'Reilly's, whatever. They have their place. Don't get me wrong. I mean, all my automotive shops rely on them to get parts, quote unquote, relatively quickly, same day, whatever, to do repairs on vehicles. But it's just a little shit. So I do a lot of shopping on Rock Auto, and there's an art form to Rock Auto, trying to get all of your warehouses the same to save on shipping. And as a rule, when I get on Rock Auto, I try to get everything I need in one shot. Never works, but to kind of save on shipping, I'll kind of go through my fleet of vehicles and decide, is there something I could use for this, that, or whatever. See if it matches the warehouse. And one thing I will always recommend to you, if you're in the market for any car parts and you're on Rock Auto to buy anything, throw wiper blades on there. Wiper blades at the auto parts store are between $20 and $30 per blade. And the most expensive one on average that you can buy from Rock Auto is like $7. And it's a good high-end Anco brand. And I run them on everything. So if I'm getting car parts, like if I don't even need wiper blades, I'll just look up a random vehicle I own and buy $14 worth of wiper blades for it and have them in the garage ready to go when I need them.
That's wiper blades are probably like anything else. They all come out of the same factory, and at the end of the line, they put them in different boxes.
Right. So
there's someone out there making a living, an honest living, making wiper blades.
There is. So probably several people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to the Volkswagen, it needed the headlight that I put in it, Chinese piece of shit, had just the dimmest halogens you could think of. I was
or
like,
as Nick says, 2 big lighters.
2 big lighters. So I was like, I'll just run to the parts store and I'll get like the Silver Star Platinum, or whatever. And they were $75 for the H7 beams.
Woo!
For a pair. And this Volkswagen takes 4 of them. And I'm like, I'm not spending $150 on just headlight bulbs. So I get on Rock Auto and I look. The same, I guess, Kelvin temperature, blah, 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 all the shit. Basically identical bulb was $24 for the pair. So I was like, screw this. Went home, got online, started looking. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to be a little bougie. I'm going to spend a little bit more money. And I bought LED conversion bulbs.
Oh.
So the H7 LED conversion bulb, because I put them in our toter that we had and made a huge difference. Just night and day difference. I mean, if you've ever driven anything older than like a 2010, you'll know that old vehicles had shit headlights. 2 big lighters, as Nick says. And the LED conversion bulbs, if you can find them that fit your application, would hands down highly recommend. Now, there's a lot of shitty ones that I would kind of steer clear from. I mean, you get what you pay for when it comes to LEDs. But in my old tool truck, we put LED conversion, the rectangle seal beam halogens. They have conversion seal beam LEDs. Same for, your 7-inch round headlight bulbs and Jeeps and whatnot. And my daily driver Jeep has the $50 Amazon ones, and they're shit. They're absolute garbage. I mean, they're a little bit better temperature-wise, but not really brightness-wise in the seal beam halogens. But we put the $200 a bulb, DOT-rated LEDs in my tool truck, and those were legitimately night and day different. Super bright. So
you're the jackwagon blinding people now.
Yeah, I am. So
perfect.
Yeah, so you're welcome for that. Anyway, the LED conversions should be in this week. I'm going to get them swapped in. Hopefully those are kind of cool. And still waiting.
Maybe she'll be able to see the deer before she hits it this time.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, basically that's kind of what I had going on. Then I had the taillights go bad on the flatbed. Kind of poked around on that with my test light. Couldn't really get anything figured out there, which if you're in the market for a test light, I highly recommend obviously the Snap-on one, but any of them that show voltage, because I had an issue where I was showing a positive power source, but I only had 9 volts, which 9 volts will not run an incandescent tail lamp bulb. So I kind of did a little more poking around. Switched to my power probe, which actually has the ability to produce power and ground to the tip of the meter there, and found out that I had some backfeeding issues. I had some grounds crossed over on some power wires somewhere way up the line, and I had just all kinds of wonky shit going, and decided I'm just going to rip it all out and start over fresh when I put the actual truck bed on. So
it's amazing how it's worked till now.
It's incredible. I mean, it did. There was never. I mean, I had a couple bulbs that didn't work, but it's an old farm truck. Didn't really pay it too much attention, but yeah. So that's kind of what I've got going on right now. Is all my shitty shit, and my Jeep is doing this new thing where 1998 fuel injected OBD2 vehicle. Is now running about the same quality as my 74 Dart with a carburetor. When it's cold, it just won't idle. Just, go out and fire it up of a morning, which it's getting colder out now, and just won't idle. So you got to kind of not really pump the gas, but hold the throttle open with your foot until it gets a little bit of heat built, and then it'll idle about 400 RPM. And when it warms up, it runs fine, which a buddy of ours, Jason, said that the computer temperature sender will go bad, telling the computer that it's negative 100 degrees outside and it needs to fatten up the fuel mixture. And then obviously it's not going to run on overfueling. And I confirmed that this morning with my nose, trying to fire it up, kind of revving the shit out of it. It was running pretty rich. So that might be on the short list, but that's just what I got going on. So anyway, let's get into actual meat and potatoes of this episode.
Hold on, we had one more fan feedback.
Oh, what's that?
We had a podcast name suggestion.
A name?
Yes,
we've already named this. We've already named it.
We've had a name change suggestion.
What would that be?
My uncle Roger said the podcast should be called "A Little Sam Goes a Long Way."
Shout out to Roger. Shout out to Tom. He asked you the other day when we first started this. He said, "What?" He said, "What do you got a podcast about being a dumbass?"
I said, "No." Well, yeah, actually, kind of, yeah.
Actually, yeah. That's basically all we talk about. Oh, hell.
So anyway,
all right. Well, thank you for that feedback, Roger.
Yes, let's get to some meat and potatoes.
Okay, so the name of this episode is "How to Get a Deal on Facebook Marketplace."
Yes. So the big thing is, you search in Marketplace, see a good deal, and it's already sold, or you can't get to it, and just never get the good deals. It's somebody else always gets the good deals, and I never get a deal like that. What people say.
You always hear like, I only paid $200 for this. And you're like, there's no way. Well, there is a way.
Yes. So here's your secret episode. Write this down.
So yeah, get your pen and paper out. Write this stuff down. This is our experience on how to get a deal.
Right. This may not be true at all. Your results may vary.
Yes.
Yeah, consult a doctor.
Please consult a doctor if your erection lasts longer than 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So
the absolute number one thing.
Let's start from the beginning. Like you find a deal.
Okay. So you find a deal, or what you think is a deal.
Yes.
Are we talking automotive, or are we talking anything?
I would
anything?
say.
Okay.
Anything
all right.
that's a
Let's
deal.
go. All right. Anything that's a deal.
So first, if it's a really good deal, the seller's phone is blowing up.
For sure.
Because there's people out there looking for it, and he's probably got 50 messages on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I would suggest, and Sam can confirm or deny, is I like to give extra information. Not, is this available? I want it. When can you, I always put.
What year is it? But never. So as a seller on Marketplace, I'll tell you also, there's a bunch of key things that really irk me off as a seller. I just refrain from doing it if all possible as a buyer. Number one is the canned response from Facebook. Is this available? Most guys put in their ads now, I will not even respond to is this available.
Well, a lot of people hit it by accident.
Well, yeah. So, and then never, ever ask a question that's in the description. Read the description completely, start to finish, at least a couple times.
And look at the pictures. How many miles does it have on it? Well, there's a picture of the odometer.
So I always try to zoom in on the pictures, answer all the questions I have about it by myself before asking any questions to the seller. And like Dozer said, if it's going to be a really good deal, his phone's blowing up.
Right. So I always like to put, especially if it's close, I'm from Effingham. I'm only 45 minutes away. I have my own trailer. I have the money. I'm ready to come whenever you can.
Trailer's hooked up. Straps are loaded. Gas is in the truck.
Yes, I will come right now.
Yeah. And it also helps. It's kind of a dirtbag bullshit move, but I like to, if a guy won't message me back, I send him a picture of the wad of cash in my hand.
Yeah. Have you had any luck with that?
I have. So I'll tell you a story about that.
I always hate when people do that, but I mean, if it works, it works.
So I went and buy Comanche. It was one of those deals, and sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. So.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
So.
Because he ghosted you on that, right?
So the guy had this Comanche for sale, and I believe it was a Sunday. It was a weekend, obviously. I believe it was a Sunday. And I saw it, and it was posted in a couple different places, had a whole bunch of comments. I mean, comment. Nobody was actually saying, hey, I'm on my way. I'll take it, whatever. And the guy was down in Noble, which is about a 50, 60-minute drive from Effingham, depending on which way you go. And I messaged him. He messaged me back once or twice, like, yeah, it's available. Just lost interest in the project, whatever. And I was like, well, you available today? And he said yes. And that was really all the information that we had exchanged, and that and the price. And so I just got my truck, went and got the trailer, went and got the cash, and I just drove to Noble. I just drove straight there. An hour goes by and didn't hear a word from this dude. Probably 10 minutes out, no response back. I sent him a picture of the wad of cash in my hand, and I'm like, hey, I'm almost there. Where's your address? I pull over in the middle of town, which there's like 500 people, and I'm sitting there on my phone, scrolling through Facebook and scrolling through my messages. No answer back. Like, he hasn't even read the message on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, fuck. I'm in Noble. I got a trailer. I got what I don't remember, it was $2,000, whatever money I had in my pocket. I don't even remember how much it was, but I'm not coming home empty-handed. I'm committed now. I'm going to go buy something. So I was on Facebook Marketplace for about 20 minutes trying to find something in Noble or around there in Olney, whatever to buy. Couldn't really find anything. I'm like, God damn it. I really wanted this Comanche because it was cheap. I mean, it was pretty cheap. So I turned around. I'm going to take a different way home just to kind of see some different countryside or whatever. And I end up pulling up on the side of the road, and there was a John Deere tractor for sale. Had to send that to Dozer, make sure he knew about it in case it was a deal. I could have probably brought it home for him because I had the trailer, And I was like, well, screw it. So I no sooner pulled on the highway to come home, got 50 foot on the highway. He messages me back, hey, just got home, phone was dead, blah, 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 whatever. So I slam on the brakes, turn around, he sends me his address, and I go get it. And just one of those things, like right place, right time. There was at least 100 comments on this thing because it was at least half market value that he had it posted for. So along the same lines would be probably tip number 2 on the cash deal.
Yeah, we can go into that.
So be prepared, obviously. So have, like we were saying, have the trailer ready, or not maybe ready, but have it accessible, quickly accessible, and have cash on hand. Have whatever you're comfortable with. I try to have a couple grand in a safe stash for just a rainy day fund, never know when something's going to come up that you need to buy. You do some landscaping at your girlfriend's house, got to pay the landscaper, get a better deal for cash, or, whatever the situation is. My girlfriend's in banking, and she thinks it's stupid to have cash at home.
Well, cash talks, BS walks.
That's true. So, and it's more times than I can recall right now at this exact time. The Comanche for one, the current silver truck I'm trying to buy right now was for sale for about half of what it was worth on a Sunday. Guy listed it on a Sunday, and I was both my white truck, my flatbed I drive now, and the silver truck were both Sunday deals. And had I not had a few grand in cash at home, I would have been fifth in line on Monday morning after going to the bank. But since I had the cash in the safe, Sunday afternoon went and picked up a truck for way under market value. And
actually, Sam saved me on this. My wife and I went and bought a Jeep unexpectedly on a Sunday. Really good deal over by Kansas City, Missouri. And we didn't have the money out of the bank. We had it in the bank, and I messaged Sam, like, hey, can you spot me? I knew he kept some cash on hand. Yeah, no problem. Went to his house, got the money, and I remember my mom and dad are like, how do you have the money for this? Like, I'm going to go get it from Sam. Like, Sam, like, why does he have the money? Like, this is what we do.
Yeah, and it's people who aren't wheeler dealers or, into the kind of stupid shit we are, they find it appalling that you would have more than a couple $100 just on hand at any given time because, well, your money's not safe. It's not earning any interest in the bank, and that's always the biggest argument. Well, in the bank, you earn interest, and I have made more money by keeping money in my safe than I have made my entire life on CDs, checking accounts, you name it. In the bank, I've made more return on investment by having cash on hand.
Which, keeping a bigger sum of money at home is weird to some people, but that goes back to the saying, if you want things you've never had, you've got to do things you've never done.
100%.
And Dr. Seuss says you've got to be odd to be number one.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's deep. That's deep. Leave it to Dr. Seuss, man.
Exactly.
He's
also canceled, though, from what I understand.
Happens to the best of us.
Yep.
Hopefully not us. Not right now.
Red fish, blue fish, man. You can't be having that.
I guess not. That's racist.
Yeah, there's something.
So, how else can you get a deal on Marketplace, Dozer?
So, I think I never really finished my first thing. You just give a lot of information. Not your canned response. Let them know you're serious. I've got the money. I've got a trailer. Try to work with them. I always like to ask the question, how soon are you available? Not when can I look at it? When can I take it for a test drive? How soon are you available? Especially if it's a really good deal. I know, like my father-in-law found a trailer one time, and actually my father-in-law's found a couple of deals, and, he found them early, but whatever was going on, with him at the time, he was busy, couldn't get to them. They were going to sell the next person, and there's enough, people who don't show up that even if you are going to show up in 2 days, they don't believe you.
They sell it out from underneath you.
So, I'm lucky that I have a job where I can
take
off and go get such a deal. And, I don't know how someone in a different position could handle that, but, at least be ready to go after you're off work.
Right. And there's a fine line too. I mean, we can have this like a 2-part thing. This is what we're talking about right now is when you see a $10,000 truck listed for $6,000, it's, I will come right now with the money and I'll come and get it. Then there's an additional, how do you kind of talk a guy down from his asking price? And if you go overboard with the, I'll be there right away, I'm ready to go, here's the cash, I'm a buyer, you don't really have much room for negotiation when you get there.
But a lot of people aren't master negotiators. And a lot of people feel socially obligated to meet you in the middle. So even if it's a really good deal, I get all my good deals on situations I'm willing to walk away from. If you drive an hour to get something and it's not worth, if it's worth what you want when you get there, you can always try to talk them down on price. And if they don't budge, oh man, my phone's blowing up, I got to sell for this, then you buy it and you still got a good deal.
Yeah.
But if you get there, everybody's, well, what if I get there and it's not good? Well, then you can start negotiating. I bought a 66 Mustang on my birthday one year over in St. Louis. Guy said it's rust-free. Drive over there in the snow, took off work, drove over there. He was wanting like $3,500 for it. Got there, looked at it, completely rusted out. Needed frame rails, needed torque boxes. I said, man, I thought you said this was rust-free. Oh, I said, I'm not interested. And I think my brother went with me. Got in the truck. We're backing out of the guy's driveway. He comes, bangs on the window, roll down the window. What would you give me for it? And I said, I'd give you $800 for it. Okay, I'll take it. Yeah. And me and my brother just look at each other like, what just happened?
Yeah. So that applies to just about any deal, Facebook Marketplace or otherwise, business, doesn't matter, real estate. Dave Ramsey will say the same thing. Be prepared to walk away. The walk away power is a huge power in a negotiating situation. Like he said, just like Dozer said, the best deals are when you don't have to have it. Right. the worse that you want something, the badder you want it, the more that the seller can tell that this guy's not walking away. And it stings a little bit to walk away, but you got to be prepared for it. I drove to Southern Illinois somewhere to look at a Jeep just not too long ago. It was down around south of Mount Vernon, off in the sticks somewhere. Again, it was a Sunday deal. It was a Jeep, super rust-free, low mileage Cherokee, and it's a good deal. I'm just going to go get it. Guy was Hispanic, couldn't really communicate that well on Messenger. And I thought, screw it. I'm just going to go drive down there and look at it. Had the cash with me. I get there. Didn't even think about it. It was two-wheel drive. It was a Texas Jeep, which is why it was rust-free. But in Texas, they don't sell four-wheel drive Jeeps because they don't need them.
And Brock Holste found that out the hard way on his brand-new pickup truck.
And I've maybe seen in my person with my own eyes one other two-wheel drive Cherokee. I know they're out there. They made a bunch of them because they made a couple million Cherokees. But I didn't even think about it when I got there. And I was like, shit, I don't even want this thing. So guy shows up, and his story was, he got whatever was wrong with it and had to park it. Oh, it needed a starter. So I never did hear it run. Needed a starter. And he doesn't want to fix it because the cops know him in that vehicle, and he got busted for DUI a couple times. And so now he can't drive it because he still drinks and drives and blah, blah, blah. So I lowballed him. Whatever I give him, I don't remember what it was. I'm asking for it now. But, I walked away because they had a couple little things. The ignition switch was busted like it had been stolen. And, he had the title and everything, but just it was not a deal. For what he was wanting, I offered him about half what he was asking because that's what I would have had to been in it to make it four-wheel drive or whatever I would want to use it for. And it kind of sucked driving home an hour and a half with nothing on the trailer. But sometimes it's what you got to be prepared to do is to walk away.
Walking is probably better than buying something that's not a good deal.
Oh, for sure. I was out $75 in diesel fuel. If I'd have brought it home for what he was asking, the whole sunk cost analysis, well, I'm already $50 in fuel in this job. I might as well get it done. I'd have maybe spent the next 6 months and a couple grand to break even on the deal, which whatever, maybe you broke even,
right,
but
you'll get them next time.
I'd rather lose $50 in diesel fuel than have to screw around for 6 months or whatever. So,
right. And some people are like, oh man, you got lucky on that deal. You got lucky. Some would argue that luck is where opportunity and preparation meet.
That I will stand by that forever. I don't believe in luck, in the standard sense of the term. The term gets thrown around there, but like Dozer was saying, if you are ready when the opportunity arises, then you are in a good position and people will view that as being lucky. So, yeah, just all around be prepared. Have some cash, have some free time, have a trailer.
And then the next thing would be when you get there, make friends with the guy. Talk to him like you know him. Oh, yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying lie to the guy. But, and especially if you are planning on restoring it and keeping it, not just flipping it like that 69 Dart I bought. We talked to that guy for hours. I was planning on restoring that car. He was excited to see me restore it.
It was one of my favorite stories, going and buying shit with you. We were looking for something else.
Yeah, an Opel GT.
Okay.
With a 350 Chevy in it.
And they ghosted us.
Yeah, we got to the Mississippi River and the guy quit answering messages.
So I had like the 3G hotspot on my phone and my laptop, and we cruised Craigslist for like an hour trying to find something to buy.
Yeah, I think you were going to get your dad's guitar that you had worked on or restrung or something.
Yeah, my dad had a D40, D35 Martin guitar that had a warranty issue, and it was at this repair shop down in St. Louis by the river, and we just made a day of it. And like I said, the guy ghosted us, and we found this Dart after some searching on Facebook. And it, like Dozer was saying, make friends with the guy, be sociable, don't be afraid to tell your story, because some people you just all business, like just buy the shit, get out of here. But most people, are just people, and they want to be friendly, and they want to make a new friend. And this guy,
and they want to know this car, which was his dad's car, was going to someone who wasn't a dirtbag.
Yeah, this guy, his dad, from the story I remember, was an insurance salesman.
I thought it was oil field.
Was it oil field?
It was oil field.
And had 3 cars, identical, 1969 Dodge Dart Swinger, slant 6 automatics, and bench seat cars, and they, whatever profession, oil field, whatever, they ran these cars back and forth. And he told us a story about how he was going, like he had just learned to drive, 16, 17 years old, and he was going from St. Louis to Kansas City, and his mom and dad were in the back seat, and him and his girlfriend at the time were in the front seat.
No, opposite. His dad was driving. He was in the back seat with his girlfriend.
No, you're wrong.
No.
You are wrong. And I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, because the end of the story. So he's driving to Kansas City.
His dad tapped him on the shoulder.
And said, keep your eyes on. So there was some, R-rated activity going in the front seat while his dad was, quote unquote, asleep in the back seat. And after the R-rated activity had finished, his dad reaches up, taps him on the shoulder, and says, "Keep your eyes on the road, son." and that was the one car that he hung on to after the business was gone. His dad was gone. He still had this car, and he was excited to sell it to Dozer, knowing that it was going to go to a good home.
His name was Sam, too.
His name was Sam. Yeah, we got a picture of Dozer and Sam next to the car in the middle of our. He was on a trailer frontwards, and we backed it off of his trailer onto the Jedco trailer, and it was a shit show.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was awful.
But I mean, he was asking like $4,000 for it, and I think we got it bought for like $2,500.
Yeah, because of the story, and that's the thing is don't be afraid to spin a yarn, and like don't lie, but I'm gonna go do this with this vehicle, and I'm not just gonna lowball you and screw you and go make $1 on you, because one thing to know about the vast majority of the population is success is evil to most people. And if you are going to make money on something you buy from somebody, they do not need to know that, because they won't sell it to you on principle. Because if you're going to make the money, well, why can't they make the money? And I've sold a few things, and people have been like, well, why'd you sell it so cheap? You could have got more money out of that. Well, you're not wrong. But I sold it for what I wanted to sell it for, and I was happy with that price. I don't care if that guy goes and makes $1, $100, or $100,000. I might be like, damn, maybe I should have listed it for more, but I was willing to sell it for what he bought it for. Otherwise, I wouldn't have sold it.
I'm a big fan of leave some meat on the bone for the next guy.
Right. So, and in Dozer's case, maybe a lot of meat. But we won't get into that.
That was old me.
Okay. We're turning a corner. We're gonna be a little bit better about our project buying and selling. So,
and then the next thing is you do not get what you don't ask for. So, I mean, you're 100% not gonna get a lower price if you don't ask for it. And you don't be insulting. Don't be like, yeah, I wouldn't. This thing's a piece of shit, I'll give you half. Don't be like that. My orange Jeep, when I bought it, the guy told me he had turned down several offers at, well, I was going to skirt around it, but we'll just talk about it. The guy told me he turned down several offers at $8,000. I run this guy off my property. He offered me that. This is unreasonable, blah, 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 blah. So, he had already turned down that amount, but, I just told him, I said, this is rougher than I thought it was. I know you've turned down this amount and you've got some other offers higher. I'm here now with a trailer and money, and, I'm not trying to insult you, but I would need to get it bought for $8,000. And that's where I'm comfortable. If you don't want to take it, I understand. You don't have to just, you kind of make it a shit sandwich, they say, kind of sugarcoat it. And you don't want to be rude about it. You just, it might be worth more to other people, but this is where I'm at. And I mean, he bid on it. I paid a little bit more than that, but he bid on it, and he sold it to me for a price under what he had allegedly ran other people off his property at.
So one line I like to use, which is very common, is, well, what is the lowest you'd take? Not what's your bottom dollar. I hate that. What's your bottom dollar? Well,
I hate what's all, especially when that's the first thing. What's your bottom dollar? Like, whatever, dude.
Yeah. But so like after you talk to the guy for a while, so and I try to do it in person. Like if I'm if I'm messaging back and forth, the craziest I'll get is, are you negotiable on price?
Are you flexible?
Are you flexible? Are you negotiable? I like to say, are you negotiable on price? And they'll typically say, yeah, a little. Mm-hmm. Well, if something's listed, if something's listed for 11,500 and they say, yeah, a little, I can buy that for 10 grand all day. So then when you get there and you got cash in your hand, not a cashier's check, not a bank loan or whatever, you say, I don't try to insult the guy, but I'll say, well, like Dozer's, it's a little rougher than I was thinking. It's going to need tires. It's going to need this, or the check engine light's on, or whatever. Don't insult the guy, but just point out one or two little things that you didn't really see in the ad, that wasn't called out in the ad, because he knows what he's doing. He knows that it's got a cracked windshield, or he knows that the tires are worn, or he knows that the air conditioner's not working right, or the check engine. I mean, he knows it's his vehicle. I mean, he's run with it. He
didn't put that stuff in the ad on purpose.
Yeah. So like, oh well, it's got this, and I'm gonna have a little bit of money in this, so what is the lowest that you would take on this? And well, it's listed for 11.5. I'd like to get 10. Well, that's a dead giveaway. I'd like a freaking pony. So okay. So you'd like to get 10. So this is in my head, and I'm thinking, well, I brought 10 with me because I knew I could get it bought for that. And I say, well, I'd like to be in and around, 8,000 or whatever. And oh man, that's not enough. That's not enough. Like, well, here's the deal, man. I'm gonna have $1,000 in wheels and tires on it. I'm gonna have at least $200 fixing the air conditioning. I'm going to have a couple hundred, like, man, I'm going to have 10 grand in this thing before I even get it plated. Well, blah, 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 and so I've already offered him 8 grand. He's kind of hinting around that he's not going to take that. And then, so I'll be like, well, I got cash. It depends on how crazy you want to get. Like sometimes I'll have the cash with me. I'll have it separated up in stacks of 1,000. And, I'll be like, well, dude, I brought 9 grand with me. And you just pull the 9 grand out, and then something happens in the human brain when they see green 100 or blue now $100 bills in their face. They're they when the moment that you said that you were coming to get them, and they've got it listed for $11,500, and they know that you're coming and that you're going to buy it, they've already spent that 11 grand from the whole hour it took you to drive from Effingham to wherever it's at. They're thinking, I'm going to go buy this. I'm going to go pay on that loan. I'm going to go buy a new sofa, a new TV, whatever the thing is. They've got the money spent. Mm-hmm. And then when you get there and start negotiating, they're thinking, oh man, I had all this shit planned I was going to buy. And then they're like, oh, this guy, he's lowballing me, whatever. But then they see that 9 grand. They're thinking, well, I may not be able to get the 72 inch,
bird in the hand, two in the bush.
But that 65 inch is looking pretty good. And 9 times out of 10, in my experience, you put that cash in their face, not like in their face, but you let them see that money, and their tune kind of changes. Like, well, oh man, my bottom dollar's, 9 grand. Like, would you meet in the middle at 85? And you've already, you were going to buy it for 10, but you just met in the middle. That's hardwired into our brains. Meeting in the middle, you try to be a reasonable, person, just in general, and it's hardwired. Like, well, he's at 8, I'm at 9. Yeah, 85. Fuck it, I'll take it. And then you just save $1,500 over what you were prepared to spend just for asking the question.
I mean, it's awkward, and people get this in their mind. Oh, he's going to be mad. He's going to be pissed at me. It's rude. It's uncomfortable. But like, I mean, that's just all in your head. Yeah, I've never had anybody get physically and real upset, but they may, oh come on, don't lowball me, but no one's ever brought their fist up.
Yeah, and I'm
don't
not
super insult them. If it's worth 13 and they're at 10, you may just bite the bullet. But if it's worth 11 and they're at 10, maybe try to get it for 9.
And I have lost deals, from asking for a better price. And it'll happen, you say, would you take this? No, I'll just keep it for that. Like, well, I'll meet you in the middle. Like, no, I'm just going to keep it. And that happens, and that's just something.
Then they probably sell to the next guy for less.
And it happens, and you got to deal with that. But that's just the way it is. So I'll tell you one that happened to me recently. A couple years ago, well, about a year and a half ago, it was right after Trump cash or Trump bucks came the Biden bucks. And it was right after Biden bucks. There's been a Comanche in Sullivan that I've been eyeballing for years. Pretty rust-free, just pretty nice little unit, and it's sitting outside of this kind of a rundown house that's kind of been under construction for a couple of years, full of beer cans in the bed. I mean, just absolutely full. I stopped in there, and this purple-haired gal come out and wearing some kind of Leonard Skinner T-shirt. And
Three Wolf Moon.
And I was like, hey, notice this truck out here. Whose is it? Oh, it's my brother, uncle, cousin, whatever. Is he around? Yeah.
Sister cousin.
Yeah, so he comes out, and I'm like, hey, I'm interested in buying this Jeep that's been sitting out here for a while. And he says, nope, can't get rid of it. It was my brother's. He's dead, and I got to keep it. I was like, well, okay, I understand. I'm interested. I like these things. I've had a couple of them. Here's my card. Here's my number. If you ever want to sell it, just let me know. No, yeah, I'm not going to sell it, whatever, which in hindsight, I should have done it before they started writing thousands of dollars worth of checks to everybody who doesn't have a job. But, they were not needing the money. They didn't need to sell it. And 3 weeks ago, drive by, it's gone. It's gone, hasn't come back. I'm sure they've sold it. I haven't even stopped in just because I've been so disgusted at myself for not stopping in again and checking. But, you're not going to win them all. That's just kind of the way it is. Any more tips, Dozer?
My tip was, and this is going to sound crazy, but I feel like a large portion of my deals come from going to the bathroom.
Okay.
So when you sit down to use the restroom, don't get on TikTok, don't get on Instagram.
A number 2, if you will.
Yes. Don't just aimlessly, cruise the internet. Get on Marketplace and look for deals. I have found multiple deals, mostly tractors, using the bathroom.
Okay.
Sit down, open up that Marketplace app. The algorithm knows what you want.
Yep.
And just start looking. And I know for a fact 2 tractors doing that. Possibly my Falcon was bought that way. In fact, I know it was.
Okay.
Okay. So I told Jason that too. He was talking about wanting to get a good deal on something. I said, man, just every time you sit down in the bathroom, life's busy. You get busy and work's busy and kids are busy. But when you're sitting down in the bathroom,
that's you time.
That's 5 minutes you can, or 3 hours if you ask my wife. But anyway, look for something. The algorithm will push it right to the top. It knows what you want, and you might just get a deal that day. Yep. And then be ready to act.
Okay. Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I know that 4300 John Deere I bought, not the combine, but the tractor, compact tractor, was used in the bathroom. My Cub Cadet I bought, it's like a 7254 or something, using the bathroom. Falcon, using the bathroom. I mean, all the deals.
Okay. Yep, that would be a good tip. If you're looking to buy something, regardless of what it is, like you said, the Facebook algorithm for the marketplace is going to push that up to the top for you. There's some art form into search parameters if you're actively looking for something. But like Dozer was saying, most of my stuff that I find, I'm just kind of scrolling, seeing what the algorithm brings up, seeing what I want to see. Some of it's from groups, some of it's not, some of it's from marketplace only. Doesn't matter.
And don't discount looking for the wrong spellings.
Sure.
So Dodge Cummins.
Yep.
John Deere with no E on the end. Stuff like that.
And
Camaro spelled wrong.
Yep. And because a lot of your lesser educated sellers are be willing to deal more. And your educated buyers that are looking for a Camaro, they're going to spell it correctly. And so the guy who's got it spelled Comero is probably not getting a lot of hits because not a lot of people are seeing his ad. So another tip that I've got is if the guy is a boomer, so to speak, if he's an older gentleman and isn't responding well to Facebook messages and he has his phone number in the ad, call him. Don't text him.
Don't text him.
Do not text him because he's getting plenty of texts on his fancy Facebook Messenger machine on his fancy smartphone. My convertible pickup truck that I found, it was down in Tennessee, and the guy had in the ad, do not message me, call me. And I, screw it. So I put the phone number in, I called him, and he's like, you are the third person to call me. I don't even know how many Facebook messages I have. I can't even count that high. And when I ended up getting there, he showed me if he had one, he had 200 messages on his Messenger section that was labeled Marketplace just for this truck. And it was cool. It was a unique truck. You can find it on my Facebook somewhere, but he had just hundreds and hundreds of messages and 3 phone calls. 2 guys wanting to trade for some bullshit and me wanting to buy it for cash.
With pieces of paper with pictures of dead presidents.
And he told me, and I was like, man, I can PayPal you some money to hold it because I can't get there till this weekend because you're freaking 6 hours away from me, but I want it. And he said, man, if you tell me you want it, it's yours. And that right there will tell you the kind of caliber of guy that you're dealing with because he's an older generation. He's not been jaded by the internet, so to speak, and he's a man of his word, and he's going to honor it. And I told him, hey, I want it. He said, don't worry about sending any money. And when I got there, just the nicest freaking guy, showed me his whole car collection and told me the whole backstory that he got on the truck. And it's just that kind of thing where if you can make the seller's experience better, he will make your buying experience better.
Right.
So,
and we should honestly do another episode called Selling on Marketplace Tips because that's the same thing. That's when we're going to have Boss Man on as a guest host for like our hustling episode because I have a whole notepad here full of selling on Marketplace tips. Yeah, because I like to talk to people on the phone when I'm selling too because there's a lot of BSers out there, a lot of tire kickers, but if they'll talk to you on the phone, they're pretty serious.
They're serious, yeah, for sure. Like anybody, like, hey, you got more pictures? Like, no, motherfucker. If I had more pictures, they'd be on the damn ad.
Yeah.
And this goes back to like selling anything. I mean, I'm sure you would rather call me on the phone to talk about sweatshirts or ballpoint pens than text me about it. And I'm the same way with tools. Like guys, like, hey, you got a tool for this? Like, okay, call me. Like, first of all, what are you working on? Do you really need this tool or do you really need that tool? And you can convey a lot more information with a phone call. And then you can read a guy's mannerisms and voice a lot better because there's a lot of stuff that can be misconstrued over text message. And, anybody who's ever texted
even
knows
within
that.
friends, you know.
Like, how did you really mean it that way? Like, I took it kind of an insult, and you were just kind of, pulling my chain as a joke, or whatever. So, is he really pissed at me or whatever? So, and then my last tip is, you got one more? Or?
I'm out.
Okay, my last tip is we talked this whole time about bringing a trailer because most of our shit doesn't run when we buy it, or it's a project or whatever. But
or your buddy won't go with you to drive it back home.
Yeah, if you're gonna bring it home and you're gonna drive it, which has happened a couple of times, I bought a ship box that actually ran and drove, which is rare for me, but not rare for most people. Don't drive your best vehicle over there.
No.
So, like, I have a 2012 pickup truck in the driveway, I have a 2005 pickup truck in the driveway, and I have a 98 Cherokee in the driveway. And if I'm gonna go buy something, I have a fleet of vehicles to choose from to kind of really present myself in such a way that, if I'm a seller and I've got something listed for sale and a guy pulls up in a freaking Mercedes, like, I'm not going to budge on my price.
Right.
But if he drives up in a $500 Jeep Cherokee, like, dude, this guy needs some better freaking wheels.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do him a favor.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell him this, whatever. Like, hey, I'll take $1,500 off the price because this kid, he
could use it.
He could use it, yeah. So
I always hated, before I had a nice truck, I would always draw my dad's. My dad had that red truck, that 12 Ram 2500.
Oh,
lifted.
Bart.
Yeah, Bart, which stands for big ass red truck. And people be like, damn, nice truck. I'd be like, it's my dad's. I borrowed it. It's not mine.
Yep.
Well, and then my dad had a really, really nice 12,000 pound tilt deck trailer. Damn, this is a nice trailer. Not mine. Had to borrow it. And any chance I could get, I made people know none of this shit was mine.
Yep.
I'm struggling here. Like it's, so anyway, now I've got a pretty decently nice Ram pickup truck with a Cummins. People are like, dang, that's a nice truck. Yep, it's got 400,000 miles on it. That's the first thing I say.
Yep. It knocks it down a couple notches on the nice column.
Yeah,
so.
It ain't got no rust. It looks good, but it's about wore out.
It's a damn nice truck, though, for sure.
It is.
It is. I have been in the driver's seat of that truck a lot of miles. Hey, Ryan Brandt, that's another episode. But yeah, that's all of our tips for getting a deal on Facebook Marketplace. So
if you got any tips, send us an email. What's the address?
It is askshortstorylong@gmail.com or Facebook Messenger. We have our own Facebook page now. It's just Short Story Long Podcast. It's on Facebook. You can find either of us on Facebook. We're not on TikTok or Twitter or any of that bullshit. But yeah, we appreciate you guys' feedback, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, we'll see you next time, guys.
Yep, have a good one.